Hi and welcome to this video log with me, Wayne, from swimmingcyclingrunning.com. Well, we're going to deal with a subject that I haven't really dealt with before, and that's dives. And the aggressiveness of the dive and how you should be diving off the blocks. I'll initially go straight to the computer and we'll take it from there. We're looking at a start of a race as a club champ, so it's mixed sexes and mixed abilities. Let's just run the start first. Now you'll see that we have different abilities and different types of starts. If we look at the two people in the middle, in the centre of that person and that person, they're both doing different starts. One's doing a grab start, one's doing a track start. And this person is doing a track start, that person's a grab start. And you'll see that that's a grab start. So various people are doing different things, and it's interesting to see how they compare. So we're just going on, and we'll take this in slow motion. Now you'll see that the girl in the centre is looking down, but is trying to get out as far as she can, and so's the guy next to it. They're both driving off the front of those blocks. You can see that. Everyone else, to some extent, is driving off the top of the blocks. And if you look at this person here, look at the trajectory they're having. It's up and down. It's never off the front of the blocks. It's always off the top of the blocks. And you can see the height that he retains all the way through. Okay, so what we're trying to do is we're trying to drive off the front of the blocks as far as possible. To do that, it's best if you actually look at a hole in the water out here somewhere and try and get your whole body through it. So that girl's doing it. There's an interesting thing that happens underwater as well. You see the guy next to her has suddenly popped his head up after that butterfly kick. So there's the butterfly kick, pop head up, and the girl next to him has stayed in a streamlined position. She's suddenly gained half a metre. I'll show you that again. Push, head up, immediately curves up to the surface. The girl next to him goes past and takes a lead. That is really silly if you're trying to race. So that's what we're looking at. We're looking at dives like that. Now we're going to take a look at some individuals and see how they go. We have two swimmers we're going to look at. This is the first. Now, if we notice, when he gets on your marks, he gets over his front foot. That's exceptionally good because it means the weight is forward of that point and he's ready to effectively drive off those blocks when we want to. One thing to note is where he's looking. He's looking down there. I would prefer if he were to look somewhere out there, because effectively that's what we want to do. We want to get our body through a hole in the water there. And if you're looking down there, that's approximately where you're going to go. Let's just have a look at the dive. Right, you can see there doesn't seem to be anything particularly wrong with that. He's going underwater and he's coming up butterfly. We'll just start that again. Okay, but when we take a look at slow motion, we can see that that looking down never changes. In fact, it turns into a tuck. And because he's tucking, you can see the shape of his body. The shape of his body is always this curve. Curves in anything tend to be not particularly good because they're not particularly fast. And what happens when he tucks his head, which he has done, if you look, he's just tucked his head under there, he goes straight down into the water, and that's because the attitude of his body is straight down into the water. So effectively what we're doing, we're getting to this position here, and we're generally aiming down in the water and not forward. We're not going as far as we can. We're now looking at the second swimmer. Let's just run his dive through. Okay, so again we're coming up doing butterfly and we've got that dive. Let's take a closer look. Now we can see that when we go on your marks, again he's getting into that position where he's over his front foot. So the weight is positioned forward of that point, which is good. So we're ready to roll. One thing to remember on both of these dives is if we had a competition block, we would have that, and we would have the back stop for the back foot to push off. When the back stop is there, you push off the back foot first, which drops you down to push off the front foot. We haven't quite got that, so it's not quite a competition start, but let's take it in slow motion. And we can see as soon as the diver, who initially was looking down, starts diving, and they're trying to look at a position in the water round about here to try and get their body through. You can see the attitude of the body is completely different. The arms have been thrown back and then come forward into the diving position. Let's take a look at it again. So we've driven off, and the body effectively, if we're lucky, is in a straight position. It's nearly straight there, so we've not got what we had before, which is that curve downwards. We're actually trying to get as far away from those blocks as possible. Now we still do have a lift up, and part of that is because we haven't got that backstop for that foot, and the other part is that he doesn't really drive back with his arms to get himself falling forwards even more. You can see that the arms go backwards, but they're not driving back on the blocks. You can see that's a loose handhold. It's not a hard handhold, and is not driving back there. The arms go back, then forwards, and into that position. Now remember, our last swimmer came into the water just there. We're coming into the water in that position. Now that's about 1/2 metre more to 3/4 of a metre more than the last swimmer. That's a huge difference. It's a huge difference in both distance, and it's a huge difference in the speed that the swimmer's hitting the water, and it's got to be a better start.
When you race, you really want to race aggressively, and you can see how the second diver that we had individually is actually more aggressive on his takeoff than the first diver. The first diver is like submissively diving in the water. You've got to be aggressive. You've got to take that aggression into the race, because that aggression includes a load of adrenaline that's going to take you through the race, and you want to build that up in your planning. I often show people a picture, let's show it just there. This is of Ben Proud. Now you look at that picture, there's nothing non-aggressive about that, and look at the position he's in. Virtually level with the ground and really low off the blocks. That's a fantastic type of start, and that's the type of thing that you need to emulate. Now it takes guts to let yourself fall down that much before you drive and give all that power from those glutes, hamstrings and quads. But remember, those glutes, hamstring and quads are huge muscle groups compared to these arms, and you want to use those if you can, especially if you're going through air as opposed to gooey water. Okay. That's my first set of thoughts on dives. See you soon. Keep well. Enjoy the training.